Hey, welcome to the Sharpe Way. It is Monday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. What does that mean? It's Monday AMA. Ask me anything, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. I've got a couple things I want to start off with, which are very positive. But before I do that, as always, I bug you guys, please, as you're watching, when you come in to get more people to watch, like, comment, and share. Get those algorithms going. They matter. I bug you every time. Please do it. Please follow me on Twitter. It's important. Please like me on Facebook, The Sharpe Way. Some of you aren't doing it, so please go do that. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Sharpe Way. All these things matter. They're important. And as always, if you have some cash, patreon.com/sharpeway to help support the show. But either way, like, comment, and share. There are certain things something I want to talk about if I could today. And there's something that there's actually a very positive thing that's happening right now in 2020. And for so many people, 2020 has been a very difficult year. It's obvious. So many things have happened that are difficult and challenging. It's been a year of pain for some people, a year of fear for people, a year of tragedy and change. And it's been a lot of bad things for a lot of people. But I think in the long run, and this may not be much solace right now for those of you who are struggling, but I hope it'll give you some at least light at the end of the tunnel. I think that this year, a couple years from now, we're going to look back at 2020 and actually see this as the year of enlightenment. And I'm serious. I think in America, when we look back at 2020, this will be a year of enlightenment. Because what did COVID do, right? For COVID, it made us rethink, kind of see things about our own health, about how in the world how in the world are we going to make sure our health is able to survive some kind of pandemic or disease? People thought about our health. People thought about the healthcare system more than just healthcare insurance. This is an enlightenment piece that I think that some Americans have had, that more have had because of the tragedy and pain. But not just that. The lockdown made us rethink about how we work. What makes us happy at our job? What do we have to do in person? What shouldn't we do? It made us think about social norms that maybe we should or shouldn't have. It also made us think about how much power does our government have and what should it be doing? It's given us a lot of things to think about and made us think about things that we probably wouldn't have if we didn't have both COVID and the lockdown. And you add those two things up and then throw on top of that George Floyd. And now we're thinking differently about policing and race. We're thinking about it and talking about it. And I think that all of these things, regardless of where you stand on any of those things, whether health, COVID, race, and policing, wherever you stand on any of those issues, the conversations that we're having on all of them now are conversations we probably wouldn't have had if it wasn't for this tragedy. And I think that because it's a tough year, we're rethinking ourselves personally, we're rethinking, what does my personal health mean? What does my personal wellness mean? Where should I be working? How should my career work? Do I want to stay in this job? How do I think about my friends and my community? I think that came up, right? And our government, how much power should my government have? How much do I trust my government or not trust my government? What about transparency? What do I really want in my government? Do I want that kind of transparency? And lastly, of course, in our society, right? Can community step up? Should community step up? Will it? And I think the amazing part of 2020, through all of the pain and the tragedy, the deaths from COVID-19, the horrible use of government power, both for the lockdown and police, all those things, right? The issues that have popped up have made us rethink a lot. Or at least, I shouldn't say rethink, at least open up the conversations and talk about them. There are a lot of people who didn't really understand how a government could shut an economy down. And they're like, oh my God, it absolutely can. Or didn't think that there was any issue with policing. And oh my God, there is one. Or didn't think there was any issue with the regular, didn't know about Juneteenth. And now people do, right? Didn't know about, how our healthcare system actually fails. Oh, wow, now we see it. I think a lot of these issues wouldn't have come up if it wasn't for the horribleness that this year has been so far in many ways. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to find a silver lining in the dark cloud that much of 2020 has been. I think we can find a silver lining there. That I think in the future we'll look back and go, yeah, we made some real changes. We made some real impact in different ideas, and people thought differently. And the best part is, as far as America goes, we actually made some coalitions that I think we wouldn't have made if it wasn't for this. People who were like, you know what, I am on the same side as you. And some of the opposite who fought and said we're against. I mean, we saw a lot of people, particularly on social media, like, again, unfriend each other again. But, that happened in 2016 and it happened in 2020. It probably happened again in 2024. I hope not. But politics tends to do that to people. I hope we'll rebuild some of those bridges that we burned. I know people left my page, left my social media. I hope many of them will come back. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this year, 2020, which so far is halfway over and has been a dark cloud for many, many people, I think there is a silver lining if we jump on it and try to find that silver lining. I think that's an important piece for us to consider and to think about. So yes, so please, of course, like, comment, share. And let me go through some of our comments if I can. Hey, everybody. I'm happy that you guys are on. I appreciate it. Thank you for the highs and the good evenings. All of these do matter. Every one of you guys who stop popping these little things out, they do matter. Absolutely, because the algorithms, of course, see engagement. I hate to plug this, but anyone in Iowa support Joe Jorgensen on the ballot, but has yet to sign a petition. There we go, guys. If you're in Iowa and you want to sign a petition, go bug David Davis and go ahead and sign if you're in Iowa. Thank you, David. I hope Joe gets on the ballot. That'd be amazing. I really hope she does. Thank you. So yes. Thank you, Greg. Try to capture that as much as you possibly can. Yes. So if guns are illegal in New York City, then why are there so many homicides by guns? Well, as you know, Rafi, as soon as you have prohibition, it works totally, right? The second that you have, I'm going to give you a list, if I can, of all the times that prohibition has worked and finished. That's my list. None. Because prohibition doesn't work. It never has. All it does is create a black market and it makes things illegal. Absolutely correct, Rafi. I wish that there were no more murders. I wish that were true. We've outlawed murder, haven't we? I don't know why there's still murderers. Yes. So yes. If people want consistent ideas, they should consider libertarians. If you want to think about a new way, think about liberty. I love the idea. I think you're right, Joe. Right. The advantage we have as libertarians, and I bring this up often for those of you who paid attention. If you look at our political landscape, say for the past 40 or 50 years, some of you who are old enough, have some gray hair, can remember. Some of you just have to think about history books or some TV shows you saw maybe. But if you look at, for example, I'll go Republican because Trump is Republican. Look at a Reagan Republican, a Bush Republican, and a Trump Republican. They're different Republicans. Look at a Carter Democrat, a Clinton Democrat, and an Obama Democrat. They're different Democrats. Why? They're so different because as the tribe leader changes, as the warlord on top changes, the party changes, right? What it means to be a Democrat was what Obama said when he was president. What it meant to be a Republican was now what Trump says as a Republican. They're the warlord and they decide what the tribe believes. Their principles are based upon whoever is their leader. That's what Democrats, Republicans consistently have been doing for at least 50 years, right? At least, it may be longer, but at least 50 years, I'm sure of. They've been doing it that long. They're tribes. So their ideas and their principles are basically non-existent unless the leader at the top tells you so. Libertarians are different. We are actually a party of principle. We follow principles, which is why we argue so much. I can call myself King of Libertarians if I want to call myself that, and I'll be laughed off the stage, right? Because there's no such thing. People are going to look back and attack me because if I don't follow principles, good ideas, I have to constantly come up with ideas that are based upon freedom and volunteerism. And that's what I'm always doing, Joe. You're totally correct. Thank you for that. Simplify, Rafi. I appreciate that. All right. So hold on. I just heard that. Let's see here. Cuomo should be charged with voluntary manslaughter for every COVID nursing home death in New York. That's not going to happen because he runs the courts. But I understand your concern. Maybe we should say that more often because absolutely, that is really an issue. Thank you. Yes. I love your show. Should libertarians talk about property taxes more often? Yes, absolutely they should. But I don't want to talk about just in the straight way of we got to lower taxes. If you just say that, people will shift you into, oh, you're just a Republican who wants to lower taxes so that the rich can get rich. I know that's not true, Samuel. I'm saying that's what people will hear. We have to talk about property taxes and lowering them and or removing them in the context of helping the average homeowner. We've got to make sure that that's the context, and that's the issue. I think that there are many people who've been on my Libertarians Drinking Coffee live show who have often talked about property taxes, and they've talked about ways of maybe fixing schools or ways of giving veterans a break or ways of giving the seniors a break and bringing more seniors into their communities for retirement, all types of things like that. That is brilliant. Context, in fact, to be clear, whenever talking about lowering taxes, which libertarians are always talking about, context is so critically important because if you don't put it in context, oh, you're a Republican who just wants to make the rich people richer. That is what they will hear no matter what. So, Samuel, yes, absolutely. Let's talk about what actually happens in property tax, how it affects people. And then if you actually changed how you supported schools, not through property tax, you might actually have fairer and better schooling for everybody. You could lower property tax, which would encourage people to stay and retire in your state, particularly New York State. I'm a little bit biased. Retire in New York State, keeping retiree money in your state. If you're a state that has pensions, like New York State, our pensions in New York State are being spent in Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. We're not even putting our money back into our state. No wonder we have a deficit. I'd like retirees to stay and put the money back into the state, right? If you got it, getting a pension from New York State, spend it in New York State. Get the commerce going. That's what I want, right? Take your pension, your retirement, spend it here. So I think you're totally right, but that's a great way of talking about property taxes. Keeping pensions and retirees in your state, having them spend money here, and at the same time, making schooling fairer and better. You do that and people will hear you. And that's the issue, right? I want to make sure that people are going to hear us. Yes, lowering property tax. Yes. Gun control is racist. Yes, it is. The first gun control was implemented after 1865, after the Civil War, to keep guns out of the hands of former slaves, fear that they would, enact retribution upon the white elites of the South. That was the worry. But in reality, most people just wanted to defend themselves. But that was the worry. So that was the origins of gun control. And then again, about 100 years later, in the 1960s, when organizations like the Black Panthers were actually trying to make Black communities self-sufficient, right, and keep the cops out from burning them and attacking them and doing those types of things, like happened in many areas of America, and to allow Black communities to survive on their own. Gun control. We can't have that. We can't have armed Black people. Impossible. And now, just like the drug war that was originally made to deal with liberals and leftists and Black people and Puerto Ricans, that's what it was originally done for. And that now has affected the white community, which means everybody. And now the gun control now affects everybody. Yes. So let's get rid of all those bad laws. Absolutely. Thank you. I may have to go on MeWe. Thank you. Hi, Monica. I appreciate it. Yes. We need a Black Fathers Matter post and show the truthness of it. Huh. Okay, I like that. All right, maybe my people hear it. Let's make it happen. I love it. We would love for you to run for president in 2024. You're what we need. I have considered it, maybe. I don't want to say yes or no. Depends on what happens in that time frame. Hey, I may be running for governor in 2022. If I win, I could be the governor of New York, in which case it'll have to wait. But who knows? I'm open to it, of course. Absolutely. Something I've been pondering, governing with restraint, making very few laws let the system work. Too many establishment politicians seem to want to make a law too often, then make a law to fix the aftermath of the original law. Governing with restraint is a good campaign slogan. I love the idea. Absolutely. Right. I would rather our government be judged upon whether the citizens are happy, not by whether you've done things. I'm very serious. Sometimes you should do nothing. Sometimes you should do a lot. But no matter what, you should make your citizens happy, right? That's the goal of America, pursuit of happiness. So let's try to make people happy. If that means enacting laws that will protect victims so that people can be happy, okay. If that means not, why bother, right? Why wouldn't I instead assist people? I love the idea. I like governing for happiness. That's good too. Thank you. So your Juneteenth special was simply amazing, showing systematic racism in our government through our history. Thank you so much, Deborah. Yes, and the reason why I did that, and I wanted to show a silver lining. As I mentioned earlier in this show, there's a silver lining to the dark cloud that 2020 has been, and that is a lot of people have been enlightened, not just with racial issues, but also government issues, health issues, systematic issues, all types of issues, and people have been seeing it and going, oh my God, look at that. So I did the Juneteenth special. For those who didn't see it, it was Friday. If you want to go back and check Sharpe Way, it's my last show, about an hour and a little bit more. And I showed how the good news in this is we aren't that racist. We really aren't. We are tribal. Absolutely. Humans are tribal. That is what humans are. But we're not actually racist. It takes government to make us racist. Without government, we would, and I showed exactly how that works. Systematic government creation of racism on purpose to keep the elites in charge is what actually happened, right? Americans, as early as the 1600s, were naturally mixing because it's what we do. We are tribal. And as humans don't create tribes based upon race normally. It's based upon culture or where you live or whatever you're doing, that kind of thing. In addition, being different tribes doesn't mean you have to fight. Being different tribes means you could trade, intermarry to make your tribe bigger. Happens all the time. It is human nature. Racism is not human nature. Tribalism is. And that's a difference. To make us racist, it takes government. Humans aren't that racist. And I wanted to show that, and I hope I did. Thank you for watching, Deborah. I was trying to show how that's what actually happened. As we moved down the timeline, government enforced racism that wouldn't have been there normally. Think about it. As everyone says, oh, the horrible racist, Jim Crow South, so racist. If the South was that racist, why did they require Jim Crow laws? Right? Why would you have to have a marriage against interracial marriage if the South is so racist? If it's so racist, they wouldn't do it. Yeah, they would. And how do you know? Look at it now. Now, since Jim Crow, what's the most segregated areas in the world? I mean, the country, the Northeast. Yeah, New York City is far more segregated than southern cities. Now that Jim Crow's gone, once the laws are gone, people are integrated. Not so much in the North, though, because of policies. Thank you for that. So let's see if I grab a couple more. If I could, I appreciate all of the questions. All right. So yes, we talked about property. Thank you. All right. Abortion, guns, drugs, prohibition fails. Education works. It's the most successful path forward. Yes. I remember someone said prohibition doesn't work. Even God couldn't make it work, right? Garden of Eden. Even God couldn't make it work. Are you telling me government's better than God? Right? Prohibition doesn't work. Just against human nature. We just do it. We just don't do it. Absolutely. Yes. Libertarians are hated from all sides. Yes, right. And this is something I want to bring up here. Right. Thank you for this. Here's what I want you to think about. When I talk to people, when you talk to people, remember, we're a small party, a small movement, which means all of us are the ambassadors, right? We don't have a bunch of communication gurus to do stuff for us. We are the communication gurus. It's us. It's us. So if we're jerks, then they think we're all jerks. If we're good, they think we're all good. So libertarians being hated from all sides is because we often focus on our principles. We focus on our principles. That's a mistake. And I know some people, their heads exploded. What? Our principles are everything. They are everything. Just don't lead with them. That's the only issue. It's a question of what do you say at what point? And hardcore libertarians go, now you're lying to people. You're not lying. I'm not lying. I've never sat there and said, oh, I don't believe in something. What I say is things like, don't you want better education? People go, yeah, let's talk about that. I'm leading with the end game and then talking about solutions that are within my principles. If I lead with government schools got to go, no one hears you. Nobody hears you. You can feel righteous and shake your fist on how righteous you are and then explain why they should go and how right you are and how stupid this other person is for not believing that. You can do that. You'll feel good about yourself and you'll walk away. Yeah, I'm super smart. And they still hate you and nothing works. But if you actually talk about the end game, what you're trying to achieve, and then explain how you get there within libertarian principles, they will always think the opposite. They won't hate you. They will think you are them. If they're Republican, they'll think you're Republican. If they're a Democrat, they'll think you're a Democrat because you agree on the end game. They'll actually believe you are whatever. The amount of times, and people who followed my campaign in 2018, the amount of times people thought I was one of them, consistent all the time. Every time I'd go around, there'd be somebody going, oh, so you're a Democrat, right? Because they were a Democrat. Or you're a Republican, right? Because they were a Republican. So, Ryan, I'm trying to adjust what you're saying. Sadly, you are often right. I'm hoping we can change that and spend more time talking about the end game and then going through libertarian principles and getting people to believe that we're not hated, that we're a special gem they just are lucky enough to find. That's what I'm hoping for. So, hey, Kathy, appreciate that. Yes. Hey, how does someone get involved when their local LP is inactive? Yes, almost always, Bernard. The answer is go to your state. Almost always go to your state, right? If you have to, you can go to national. But national has a lot, and national is hard to get back to and things like that. They might eventually, but number one, go to your state. Look for your state LP. Reach out to them. Number one issue, easiest way of getting involved is your state LP. Best way of doing it. Because if you don't have anybody in your area, they'll ship you to somebody who's close. The sad part is in many places in our country, there either is no local LP, doesn't exist, or it's so small it can't do anything. That's a common problem. Again, Bernard, we are a very small party. And I mean, in New York State, when I first started running, I'm sure someone will correct me, I think there were 16 or 17, I think that's right, maybe 16 county affiliates out of 62 counties. Now there's over 30. Still, I ran across the state 3 times in the past 3 years and one ballot access, and we still don't have an affiliate in every county. It's hard, Bernard. So go to your state and see if you can find someone close. Yes. Joshua, with regard to gun laws, shall not be infringed is a simplistic way many libertarians talk about the topic. In your mind, where should the limits on weapons be? RPGs, grenades. Shall not infringe is a terrible way of talking about the Second Amendment. And people do it all the time. Here's the reality. Again, this will drive some of you constitutionalists, particularly you conservatives, your head will explode when I say this. But the reality of it is, at least half of America, the majority, I believe, don't care about the Constitution. Just don't care. Doesn't matter to them. They don't care. I would cross this country and this state and talk about the Constitution. People are like, well, I don't care. Well, then it should be changed. Then it's an old document, which from 200 years ago. That's what I got all the time. So that's why I don't really talk about it that much. I will, but not that much. I instead talk about your right to self-defense. Now, I know people say, what are you going to be? Should we all have tanks and nuclear weapons? Hear that all the time. Recreational nukes. We are nowhere near that in our country. So why even talk about it? I might as well say, well, what about when an individual wants to shoot a rocket to Mars? You know what? When we come close to that, let's deal with that. We're nowhere near that. That is simply not. So RPGs, grenades, I don't know. Yes, maybe, I don't know. How about just people can carry a handgun? Let's go there. Someone can defend themselves in the way they want to defend themselves. New York State finally let us have nunchucks. I'm not joking. That was against the law in New York. You couldn't have nunchucks. Now, if you know what those nunchucks are, most people hit themselves more than hit somebody else with nunchucks. So, but that was against the law. How about we just let people have nunchucks, sticks, just their own? So I get your point, Joshua. I'm just saying it's a question I don't even answer. Let's go. When we get there, we can talk about it. Let's decide where that line is. Let's decide where that line is when we come in close. Here's what I'm sure of. Every American should be able to defend themselves as they see fit. I'll go there. How about that? We'll go there. When people start buying or want to buy nuclear weapons, then let's discuss that. But we're not even close to that. We're not even close to that. Thank you for the question. Yes, I know, Missy, we do have issues with our local. Absolutely, yes. Talking property taxes is great if you have local candidates running for town council. 100%, Aaron. Yes, because that local stuff, man, does that hit. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Are you running for governor again in 2022? I don't think I've seen you say anything yet. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. No, I am considering it. I'm very much open to it. Very much open to it. It really depends on how things, play out next year. If I feel like I have enough support, and I think I will, if I think I've set myself up financially to where I can do it. For you guys who I'm going to say something that will make some of you upset. I'm just going to be very forward with you. Most people who run for office at a libertarian line, it's a vanity run. It's just they think they want to do something that's fun or cool, which is fine. We need that too. But that's not who I am. I have a show with my name on it. I have enough vanity. I don't require that, which is why people are surprised. Why did you drop out of the VP race? You could have been the VP nominee. So what? I can be I was the gubernatorial nominee. I can do it again if I want to. So what? I don't need that. I want to be able to make impact. And for me to make impact, I have to not work, meaning I will have to take my entire day, 16 hours a day, all the time, every day, with a couple of days off of family to campaign. That's what I did in New York. Those of you on my campaign know I punished myself. I literally would leave my house in Queens and not come back for 6 or 7 days. I was on the road for 6 or 7 days straight. Come back, spend 2 or 3 days at home, back on the road again, doing it again and again and again. If I run for governor, I've got to do that again. It will also mean I need a year and a half to do it. I'll have to start next summer and then run for a year and a half again. I have to be mentally ready for that, financially ready for that, because remember, I went a year and a half without a salary. Imagine if you were to go a year and a half without a salary. Where would your finances be? Why am I always bugging you guys for money? Yeah, that's why, right? So then I have to go out there and do that all over again. And I've got to realize that I have enough support within the state and outside the state to raise more money so I can have impact and actually maybe have a shot at victory. So I want to be able to do that. So if all those things are in play, yes, I will absolutely run 2022 if all those things are in play. But I'm hoping that they will be in play. So I hope that made sense. People ask me all the time, Larry, why don't you run for Congress or Senate or something like that? Because if I can't make impact, I don't want to do it. And there's two sides, the selfish side and a non-selfish side. The selfish side is, why would I punish myself and not work to not make impact? I'm going to run for a Congress here, get my butt kicked, make no impact, and lose 6 months of my life for what? So I can say, I ran. I don't need that. That's a waste of time and money. But not just that. When I run, you guys know when I run, I bug you. I make all of you guys give me time and money and energy. I make you sign wave for me and buy stuff. And yeah, I make you all do this. I'm going to be bugging you again if I run. I'm a businessman. I can't do that if I can't give you something in return. I hope desperately that all of you who supported me when I ran felt like you got your money and time's worth. We got ballot access. I still support people. I'm still here doing stuff. I'm still trying to make stuff happen. There was impact, and that's the goal. I want you to go, I'm glad I gave that guy money. I'm glad I spent time on that guy's campaign. It was worth it. Sadly, many times people run, take money and time and volunteers, and then fail badly and walk away, never come back, and people get burned out. I don't want donor burnout. I don't want volunteer burnout. When I run, I want people like you, Heather, to be like, yes, I'm in, Larry. I'm in. And when I ask you to show up at an event and wave a sign, you go, yeah, I'm going to do it. I will show up. I'll be there with the cool shirt on and waving the sign. I need that. And I'm only prepared to do that if I can give you something in return. And that's why it matters. That's why I've only run once. And if I run again, I'll run again in 2022, and I'll be able to give you impact, work my ass off for 18 months, bug you all to give me time and money and energy. And when you do it, you'll be like, I'm glad I did. It was worth it. It made sense. So I hope that answers your question. Long-winded, as I tend to be sometimes. Yes. All right. All I know is that now they've removed Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben from food packaging. Racism should end within a couple of weeks. You know, a lot of people are upset about this, about removing the Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben. I actually don't care. It wasn't the law. It wasn't required. These companies thought they should do so. They probably did it because of marketing purposes. I doubt they did it because they actually cared. I mean, they might. I don't know the leadership teams of these companies, but I know in general, they don't care. If they would have cared, they would have done it years ago. So, Paul, I think it was a marketing ploy. That's what I believe, right? Look, we care. Look, we're sensitive. We get it. Blah, blah, blah. I think it was a marketing ploy. But I could be wrong. Maybe these guys and gals are enlightened all of a sudden, and maybe. But it's probably just marketing, and it's fine. I mean, you're going to see it all the time, right? And people take advantage of these things. But if removing Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben makes some people feel better about the company or about themselves, or it doesn't hurt people, make them feel bad, good. I actually don't care why. I don't care why, right? Even if the companies did it because it was a marketing ploy, if it makes somebody feel better, yeah, I'm okay with it. To be fair, in my own world, Aunt Jemima never bothered me. Uncle Ben did. Tell you the truth. Aunt Jemima never bothered, and I don't speak for, I'm not the emperor of black people. I don't speak for every black person on the planet. I speak only for myself. In my own world, Aunt Jemima never bothered me because Aunt Jemima felt like, and I'm just telling my opinion, it felt like it was loving, and it felt like, and this is just as being a kid. I mean, I used the products as a kid, and my father's black. We use the products. Aunt Jemima always felt like it was warm and good. That's how it felt to me. Just my emotion. Uncle Ben's felt bad. It was like the slave Jim in Mark Twain's book. So, you know, I never liked Uncle Ben. So I'm glad personally Uncle Ben's gone. But I wouldn't have gone crazy if they didn't go away. But I am glad it's gone. Aunt Jemima doesn't really bother me, but I'm sure some people it did. So that's my view on that. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it wasn't government required. Let them do it. Whatever. I'm fine with it. My man, no matter which party wins, we lose. What do you think is one thing a person can do to best prepare themselves for the next 4 years? Keep being an inspiration. Thank you. You know what it is? I'm going to tell you, it's going to sound so cheesy, but it's true. Vote gold anyway. Even if we lose, vote gold anyway, and let people know that you voted gold. Let them know that you did it. Yeah, I voted gold. Yeah, but Trump. I voted gold. Yeah, but Biden. I voted gold. You know what? They were going to win anyway. I was going to stop them, but I wanted people to know that gold matters. It's a third option, and I'm voting for the future. I'm voting for our future. You just kept the past. That's what you did. You voted for Biden, you wanted to go back to Obama. You voted for Trump, you want to keep this. So either way, you voted for the past. I didn't. I voted for the future. I think that's how you do it. And eventually people go, I'm tired of voting for the past. I hope that's this year. But if it isn't, maybe it's 2021, 2022. Maybe it is. So, yes. So, yes, the best way is through local. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. In order to get pensions to stay in New York State, you have to you have an end date on property tax. Yes, that's an idea too. Sure. You can do an end date or an age, either one, or someone mentioned to me the idea. I forgot which candidate it was. But I've done so many candidates. You know, I've interviewed over 50 libertarian candidates this year. I know it's insane. But one of them mentioned the idea of at 65, that's when. And the reason for that was to get other retirees to move into New York State so that we can get their pensions to start coming into our state. So someone mentioned that as a property tax. As long as you own the property, so once your mortgage is paid, that you would only pay taxes as long as you have a mortgage. And once there's no mortgage and you're over 65 or older, no property tax. But I think your idea is good too. After 25 years or something, right? It would. The only worry, I guess, is after 25 years is you'd be kind of trapping people. But maybe it's not a bad idea. I'd be open to any of these. Anything that will lower taxes and get people spending money here, Aaron, I'm in. So this is not a bad idea either. We can go either way. Yes. Larry Sharpe president 2028 after Joe Jorgensen. Thank you, Ryan. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, but if Joe Jorgensen wins, then isn't Spike going to be the heir apparent? We're going to have President Spike Cohen. Maybe he's the heir apparent. Maybe it'll be like Secretary of State or something like that, right? It could be something cool like that. Sure. Can you provide the names or links to videos you shared? Yes, I think I can. Missy, if you're watching, if you could. Yes, absolutely. It was actually the Juneteenth video was from last Friday. Last Friday. Yes. Thank you. I hope we'll do 2020. Yes, absolutely. You better run, Larry. I'd only ask him as VP if Yang were to decide to run. Look, if Yang wants to run, if he wants to come to be forward with you guys, many of you may or may not know this, but when I ran as Libertarian in 2018, I ran the largest Big L campaign since Gary Johnson. So when 2020 came around, a lot of the people who were considering running independent gave me a call and asked me, how'd you do? What's your blah, 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 all these. Many of them asked, and I was touching and talking to many of the other candidate teams, some of the candidates directly, but most of them through their teams. So if Yang wants to run Libertarian, he knows who to call. I am happy to have that conversation, but I'm not sure Yang wants to run Libertarian, right? Many of the Democrats, if you're a Democrat and you know Democrats, you know one of the number one things that motivates them this year is to get rid of Trump. That is a big deal for Democrats right now. I live in New York City. Many of my friends, if not most of them, most of my friends, not many, most of my friends are Democrats. So they are all about get rid of Trump. That's all that matters. And I think most of the people running the Democratic Party felt the same way. That's why they held their nose and got behind Biden, even though many of them don't like Biden, don't want him to actually win. They just hate Trump and they want Trump to lose. So they're getting behind him. In 2024, whether Trump wins or loses coming up here, he's not going to be on the ballot. So someone like Yang might go Libertarian. It's possible. So it could happen, Heather. I hope it would. But I don't think it'll happen this year because, again, Yang wants to get rid of Trump. So he's going to say, everybody vote Democrat. So is Joe showing an interest in your quick plan? I don't know. I give all my stuff out to everybody, and Joe's team has access to my social media. I give them, so some of you who've been watching some Joe stuff pop up on my team, on my social media. That's not us putting it. That's them putting it on. They get to put it on whenever they want to. They put stuff on. So they have access to all my stuff. I've been very open. They can have it. I hope so. I don't know. Yes. I would love to see you in a national debate someday. Here's how, Tony. I have to be more popular, right? National debates are always about popularity, popularity, popularity. If I am more popular, then I will win debate stage. So that's why I'm trying to do this, to be more popular so that people can see it. That's what matters. Yes. We have enough laws. We need for the laws to be enforced. Yeah, we have more than enough laws, Alan. I'm with you. Yes, absolutely. Yes. The economics of happiness. Look at you, Joseph. Well done. I like that. Yes. We are more sexist. I think you mean sexist than racist. I think it's probably true, actually, as humans, right? I'm not sure if our society is that way, but I think as humans, I think we are. I think we definitely enforce gender roles much more than we do racial roles. I think that's true as humans. I think we're definitely more sexist than racist as humans. That's true. But we even can move. If you look at cultures throughout the world, not all cultures have the same gender roles. And even those that do, they often swap them, right? They still keep gender roles, but they simply assign different ones. I think you're right. We are more sexist than we are racist as humans. And I think we do assign gender roles in all cultures. We do change and swap. We do that. Yeah. Thank you. So let's see that. Emily, take some time and watch some of Larry's live. Please, if you would. I would love for you to watch my live. Go out of my way. I produce, guys, I'm sorry. I produce about, 7 hours, 8 hours of live content every week. So I produce a lot. I know. Yes. Yes. Good point, Larry. Government enhances racism. Yes. Most of the racist ideals came from Democrats. I think they came from whoever was in charge, right? I think Democrats, Republicans have swapped back and forth on these many times. I think they came from whoever was in charge. When it came to the Jim Crow, it was all Democrats. They were in charge then. So, yeah, I think that's true. Yes. All right. Piggybacking on what John Moore said, how do we clean the slate, so to speak, of duplicitous and arbitrary legislation? It feels like the web of bad laws never stops growing. Yes, in my perfect world, I brought this up when I ran for governor, and I bring it up all the time. We talked about it when I was running with Jim Gray, Judge Gray. The idea of sunset laws on everything, sunset provisions on everything. People have thought up different ideas. I liked 6 years or 5 years, but 4 years is fine, 10 years is fine, whatever. Every single law on the books, whether you're the governor, then it's in the state, or national, then it is. Every single law has a sunset law and must be voted on, a sunset provision, I'm sorry. What does that mean is so for example, 6 years, it might be 5, I'm not married to the actual number. So every 6 years, it must be re-voted on by itself. It can't be bundled by Congress again. What will wind up happening? Imagine all the laws on the books, every one of them, and unless it's obviously a constitution, but every one on the books has to be re-voted on. Imagine how busy Congress would be re-voting on laws. They couldn't make that many new laws because they'd be spending all this time on the old laws. But not just that. If they voted on a bad law again, all their enemies would use it against them like there's no tomorrow, wouldn't they? See, he voted against that. She voted on that. She voted on that. What does that mean? Stuff's just got to go away, because if you don't vote on it, here's the rule. If it's not voted on, it goes away. That's the piece you have to have when you do this, when it comes to sunset law. If you don't vote on it, you make a time, within 90 days or whatever of its due date, it's null and void. A whole lot of Congress people are not going to want to vote because it'll be used against them. Watch the laws disappear. The only ones that don't matter are the ones that matter. And the ones that don't matter will start going away. That's how you fix it. Sunset provision on every law. Retroactive. So we start up these next couple of years. All let's do, break it up into 6 years and start voting. Start voting, or start not voting and watch them go away. That's how you fix that. So, don't give the argument my way or the highway. That's two-party tactics. Yes, we must learn individual concerns and adapt our message to them. You get more bees with honey than you would with vinegar. I thought it was flies, but bees is fine. Whatever you want. Take whatever you want. Yes. Aren't conservatives more aligned with libertarians and Democrats? I guess you mean conservatives versus liberals, or you mean Republicans, Democrats. I'm not sure. Not every conservative is a Republican. Not every liberal is a Democrat. So that's why I use those two separately. I don't think so. I think both are aligned and not aligned. It depends upon what you're looking for, right? As a general rule, on the way to get there, conservatives tend to be more aligned on the way to get there. The end game liberals tend to be more aligned. It's a very broad brush. It's not 100% true, but it's pretty close. Yes. All right. End all qualified immunity on law enforcement and government officials. I like that. Or there's something I brought up also, was the idea that the Romans used to have. It's a crazy idea, but you may enjoy the concept of it. The idea that when they would create a dictator, and in the Roman Empire, when they would, or Republic, when they would create a dictator, they would vote in a dictator for a year, or 2 years, or whatever it was. I forgot the time period. But anyway, they would vote. The Senate would vote and go, okay, we're going to make Uriah, he's going to be our dictator for 2 years or whatever. And at that point, when he's a dictator, he may not be arrested, he may not be tried for anything he does. But once he's done, he goes on trial. Was there anything that he did that was against the law or against Roman law? There was. He pays the price for it. There wasn't. Have a nice day. So every dictator at the end of his tour, whatever that tour was, in theory, I don't know how this actually worked in practice, I'm saying Roman theory, that they would actually all go on trial or afterwards to see if they'd done anything wrong. They didn't. Go on, right? All worked out. It's fine. I don't know how that works in our party right now, because if you're a Democrat and the Republicans run the Senate or the House, you're guilty. If you're a Republican and Democrats run, you're guilty. I'm not sure that would work, but I just thought it was an interesting idea. So thank you. Yes. All right. I'm going to keep going if I can. Yes, but the GOP is slowly moving left, or this government intervention like at the border or the war on drugs. Perhaps left is not what they are. Now, Brandon, your point, to be forward, guys, the entire country is moving left. It's just GOP. The whole country is. And the number one reason why the country is moving left is not because of the media, or it's not that. The actual reason is because of urbanization. Since 2008, this is 2001 was the biggest change, right? The country made a shift right after 9/11, but then started going back left because the first bubble, the bubble of the dot-com bubble, there was never any real redress. There was never any real change. So people were still moving to cities for opportunity. And as people move to cities, they become more left. Why? Because cultures mix and match. People don't have a referee. And they cry for referee. The referee is very often government. So they're asking for more government. They come more left. That's what happens to generally. They begin to shift left. It's very common. So after 2008 crash, again, there was no real recovery. With no real recovery, after the next 10 years, more people moved to cities. In the last 10 years, about 80% of all jobs, 75%, 80% of all jobs came out of 20 American cities. That's it. If you want opportunity, you've got to move to a city. And as you move to cities, you turn further left. So that's what's happening. So GOP is, the whole country is going left. It's what's happening. You want to end that trend of the country going left, you've got to end the trend of urbanization. COVID may have done that, actually. So if you're more right-leaning, COVID may have helped you politically in the next couple of years, because a lot of people right now, cities are in trouble because of the COVID crisis, right? And I live in the biggest city in the country, New York City, and many of the people who, since my Lord and Master, King Andrew II of New York, has not deemed me essential, I didn't get to go out and work like I need to work. I worked here or there. Most of my work had to become coaching online like this. So that's what I do to make a living. Many of my the people I coach are wealthy. Not all, but many of them are. They often have 2 or 3 houses, right? One of them is in Manhattan where they work. The other one's either on Long Island, Jersey Shore, upstate New York. Well, now that they can't go to work, where do they go? They work from upstate New York, or they work from Long Island, or they work from Jersey Shore. Well, they like working from there. They don't want to come back. Why would I leave my cool home on the Jersey Shore and go back to the subways of New York? Not doing that. They don't want to. So the cities are going to suffer a bit. You're going to see they won't come back as strong as they were. And when the wealthy don't come back, the people who support them don't come back. And when those people don't come back, the people who support them don't come back. And you'll watch the economy shift. New York's economy is going to shift a lot because of this. And many cities are. So I think I went long, but I hope I dealt with your issue, Brendan. Thank you. So, yes, nunchucks. I know, silly. Okay. Let's see if I can keep going here. All righty. Do you think that not having open primaries in New York hinders voter turnout? Absolutely, yes. Open primaries would help tremendously. It would allow us to have more libertarians. Absolutely, yes. I think party affiliation in of itself is illogical, even though I align most as a libertarian. To quote the great Chris Rock, anybody who makes up their mind before hearing the issue is an idiot. Party lines forces you to vote on party over policy, while policy is all that matters. It's all valid points, Heather. I agree. I wish we'd get rid of it. I think we should get rid of it. I hope we do get rid of it. Yes, yes, and yes. Thank you. I will always vote for you. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Yes. All right. Also, run for office is an L. Also, join your local state Joe Jorgens for President Facebook group. Yes. Make a post where you're from. Yes. All things. You're right, Joe. Yes, absolutely. Great. All right. You run to win and make impact, and that's so important. Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm about. 100%. Why in the world would I do that? Yes. Running as an independent wouldn't work. Sadly, Alan, not nationally, right? Locally, sometimes it will work. And the problem is ballot access. The 2 major parties go out of their way to keep everybody else off of the ballot. So for you as an independent to get on the ballot and have access, you either have to have a massive amount of money and or a massive amount of people who will support you and do all the things you want to do. That's very hard to have, right? The average guy or gal just doesn't have it. So you have to have some type of party infrastructure to literally get your name on the ballot. That's why as an independent, it rarely works. Sometimes locally, I believe the mayor of Syracuse is independent. So it does work sometimes. It's just very rare. Nationally, virtually impossible. Look, Bloomberg didn't do it. And Bloomberg had billions of dollars, and he didn't go independent, right? Schultz didn't go independent. Guy ran, Starbucks, billions of dollars. He didn't do it. because he knew that he might have to spend 10, 20, or $30 million and still may not get on the ballot in all 50 states. That's how hard it is to get access to a ballot in states. So nationally, virtually impossible. Locally, sometimes, depending upon your state, still really hard. That's the reason why independent usually doesn't work. And then if you're independent, you don't get in debates, you don't get in polls unless you're wealthy or popular. Again, that's the answer. The average person, never. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. All right. Let's see if I can keep going. Let me keep going here. You should also try to run the Republican ticket if you decide to run for governor again. Jesse, I don't know, to be full with you, right? I have several worries about that. I'm not against, in theory, and I say this in theory, having other lines. My worry is I need to make sure that libertarians get ballot access. It would depend on how much money I have, depending upon what other parties would promise me, how much I think I could do. All those things matter. In theory, I'm not against it. I would be happy to run on multiple lines in theory, but I'd have to see what happens. I don't want the libertarian line to go away because I decided to run on some other line. But I would consider it. I'm open to the idea in theory. It would depend upon what the actual, what it looks like when that time comes. So I am concerned about the long-term viability of the Libertarian Party more than just me winning, right? I do want to win, obviously. At the same time, I want to make sure I can take the Libertarian Party with me. That's what I have to make sure I do. So I'm open to the idea, but it would depend upon what everything looks like when the time comes. Doesn't running suck? Yes, Dan, you know my pain. It does suck. Absolutely. It is a pain. You get it completely. Absolutely. Dan Halloran, by the way, was he basically a someone who is, a unicorn, a Republican in New York City. They've been almost hunted to extinction. So thank you, Dan, for being the standout guy. I appreciate that. Yes. Let's see. Did you campaign a lot in New York City where you would probably need the votes more than upstate? I tried to. If you remember what my campaign was like, for those of you who are on my campaign team, when I was running early on, the person who was here was Cynthia Nixon. She was running against Cuomo. So she sucked the air out of the room. I mean, she just sucked it out of the room. Literally, people didn't want to talk to me, didn't care. It was so hard actually getting any press in New York City. It was so hard. I would literally go upstate for 3, 4, 5 days, run, come back and be like, okay, team, where's New York City stuff? They'd be like, you couldn't get any. No one cared. No one responded to our calls. No one wanted to talk to you. Nobody cared. All right. And then upstate would be like, we got stuff for you, Larry. Boom. I go back upstate again. And that happened almost every month. It was very hard to do that. But I have, if you've noticed, on the Sharpe Way show, I've had many more New York City politicians on, Democrats, because almost all Democrats here in New York City. So much more Democrats. I've had all of those things. So yes, I've been trying to be more city friendly. Hopefully, if I run again in 2022, the city will be more open to hearing me. I hope so. I'll be more popular. People want to hear me. I'm hoping so. Yes. So I'll be there, dude, every single time and bring friends. Yes, signs and shirts. It's what we need. Absolutely. It's the only way we can make these things happen. I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you. So, all right. Let's see here. Gary Johnson was a great spokesperson for LB. I love Joe, but will Gary try for president? I think Gary's done. I love Gary Johnson. He brought me to the party. Absolutely. I think he's finished. I don't think that Gary's going to run again. I think he's done. He's done his bit. I love him. He's passing the torch, right? Now it's up to us, guys. Gary passed the torch. It's now up to us. That's what matters. They did the right thing in regard to Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima. Change, but they did it for the publicity. Companies change process. I agree with you, Andrew. That's what I said. I think this was a publicity piece. I don't think they actually went, oh, we care. Again, I don't know the executive team on these companies. It is possible that they were all of a sudden enlightened. I don't think they were, right? I think they went, wait a minute, this will be great for publicity, and they did it that way. That's what I think. Or they thought reverse. They thought if they didn't, that cancel culture would destroy them. So it could have also been defensive. It could have been either way. Cancel culture is harsh. And then those of you who've been part of it, you know it can be harsh. So it might have been a proactive way of, let's be more woke in the public eye so that we'll do well for marketing, or it might be that they were proactive, right? The advantage is, and this, when they do this, we're talking about it, which means people are buying their products now. Some people are buying all the old ones so they can be collectible items, right? That's happening right now. People are buying stuff, not even using the product. They're going to put it in a big plastic thing or empty out the product and keep the box, right? And sell it to somebody 50 years from now to say, look what used to be. That's happening now. So whether it was for the right or wrong reason, it's fine, right? It is what it is. I'm not that concerned, right? I'm not that concerned. They do these things often for different reasons, right? I don't think the world ends either way. If they would have kept it, I wouldn't have gone crazy. And getting rid of it, I'm still not that crazy. So, yeah, see, Brian's with me. See, he agrees. I thought Aunt Jemima was good word. Thank you. Endearing. Yes, endearing. Yes, I wasn't really happy with Uncle Ben. I didn't like that. But I wasn't going to not buy the rice because of it, right? I wasn't going to go that far. But yeah, I actually liked Aunt Jemima. So that I'll actually miss. Uncle Ben, he can go away. It's fine. I'm okay with that one. So yes. All right. Great response. I voted for the future. See that? Yes. Now, see, we can start saying that. I voted for the future. Yes. I went shopping today at Home Depot and parked my libertarian bumper sticker in between a Trump and a vote blue. Perfect, Kathy. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. I love that. Yes. Normalize voting gold. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Bold gold. Look at you guys. I love that. Voting for the future is everything. Yes. Absolutely. People were sleeping on Andrew Yang because Andrew Yang was ahead of his time. His whole concept of technology and math and the UBI, this was way ahead of his time. Now people are talking about UBI again. Where's Yang? See, Yang won. We didn't even know Yang was going to win. And Yang, he's winning already. So yeah, he was ahead of his time is what it was. Absolutely. So, in my opinion, a vote Biden and Trump is a wasted vote, particularly in those states that are already sold, right? Almost no matter what we do in New York State, Biden's winning New York State. So why would you vote red or blue? Biden gets this state either way. Locally, I could see why you might do that, right? That might make sense depending upon your local area. Maybe you might have a more purple district where your vote might matter. I get it. But statewide, what a waste of time. Why would you vote for either one of them? Vote gold. Make an impact. Vote for the future. Absolutely. When you tell them you voted gold, be ready to be called all kinds of names. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Look, if Trump wins and you voted for Biden, you voted gold and Trump wins, all the Biden people are going to say, it's your fault. You're the reason why Trump won. If Biden wins, all the Trump people are going to say, it's your fault. You're the reason why Biden won. How do I know that? They blame me for Cuomo. I got 2% of the vote. Cuomo won by 30%, and they're blaming me like I was the 30% that, what? Do your math, guy. It wasn't me, but they still blame me. I get that on social media at least once a week. Someone says, Larry Sharpe, you're the reason why we have Cuomo. I got 2% of the vote. If Cuomo won by 2%, maybe you have an argument. He won by 25%, whatever the percentage was. He won by a lot, far more than 2%. Wasn't me. It was you guys in New York State voting for Cuomo yet again. That's what it actually was. Yes. See if I grab a couple people here. It seems a lot of people have caricatures of what a libertarian is. What do you think is attributed to, and how do we break stereotypes and show, although we care about individual liberties, we are compassionate and want a better world for everyone? This is going to take time. This is breaking a stereotype. This does not happen overnight. This is all of us talking about this again and again and again. And number one, focusing on outcomes first, because most Americans want the same outcome. They all want better schools. They all want better health care. They all want a safer America. Not all. The vast majority want that. If we start on that and then give them liberty-leaning ways of making that happen, we will change. I say all the time, lead with emotion. And this is hard when we know we're right, because we are. So we know we're right. So we just want to tell them we're right. Stop being stupid and listen to me because I'm right. That's what we want to say. And that's not going to work. So instead, it's always emotion, then logic. The old saying you hear me say all the time, because it matters. I can't say it enough. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So first talk about what you care about, connect first, and then throw the logic at them. If you throw logic first, they just turn off. Remember something, politics is emotional. I know some libertarians, your head's ready to explode. What? But the policies. Policies matter. Absolutely. They all matter. I'm just saying it's emotional too. All humans are both logical and emotional. Both. And we've got to hit both, or we're not going to grab the right people the right way with the right everything. We've got to be able to do both. That's the issue. All right. See if I can grab a couple more of these. Let's see here. To get rid of takes, I think you mean taxes. Would you think a national lottery would work? As a general rule, no. But I'm not necessarily against it. But as a general rule, no. And the reason why I'm concerned about that is two things. One, lottery tends to be a tax on the poor. That's how it usually works out, right? As an end game, the concept's a good concept, but it winds up being a tax on the poor. Generally speaking, the poor play the lottery far more than the wealthy, and everybody gains from the lottery. It always goes into a general pool, so it winds up being a tax on the poor. It is a voluntary tax, which that part I get. I understand why you went there. I get that. But the other issue is once the government has that, then the government doesn't like competition. So what will it do? It'll keep outlawing gambling. It'll make gambling a vice. Because if you can do the lottery, or you can do whatever other gambling issue that you can have in your local area, why would you do lottery? You do the local thing you can do. You run local numbers or something like that. So my worry is if you make it a lottery, two things happen. In the long run, government will make sure gambling is illegal. It will have to because they want to be the only game in town because they're running taxes off of it, right? And second, it'll wind up being a tax on the poor. That's why I'm concerned about that. I mean, I'm not against it in theory. I feel in practice it may not work right. If you can show me a better way, I'd be open to it. I'm always open to voluntary taxation. Guaranteed, I'm open to the idea. But in practice is my worry, Zachariah. That's my concern. If you can show me a better way, I'd be okay with it. Yes. How do you feel about the voluntarists within the party? That's great. I love them all. Right. I'm one of the rare people who is more of a mainstream politician who will say I want all the parts of our party together. I don't want to push people out. I think we have to have people who are much more anarchist, people who are much more radical for two reasons. One, we want to make sure the party stays on core. I mean, at its core, on course, right? To its core, we want to make sure we're doing that. If we get rid of all the people who are more radical, more anarchist, this party will become, by default, either Republican light or Democrat light, depending on how many of those people come to us. So we've got to keep that core group of people pointing in that direction. So I think we need them. At the same time, we need people who are much more, pragmatic too. And the reason is people hear our message differently depending upon where they are in their life. And I bring this up before. I was talking to a libertarian about the idea of wearing a shirt that says legalize recreational cocaine. Now, there's a group of people in America who look at that and go, that's amazing. Oh, my God, yes. And there's another group who would go, oh, I'm out. So we need that message for one group and a different message for another group. I think we need multiple messages of all different types so that we can get the most people in to hear us. And some of that's going to be more radical, and some of that's going to be more pragmatic and mainstream. Some of it's going to be milquetoast. It's going to be the old, physically conservative and socially liberal. Some of that works too, right? So we need all of those messages to all come out so the right people can come to us. So I'm totally fine with them. I hope they stay. Hope they don't get mad. I hope they stay. Good. Absolutely regarding gender roles. Yes, Melissa, we do love gender roles. Absolutely we do. It is a human thing. But we can change them. We do shift them. Different cultures shift different ways. It does happen. Absolutely. Yes. Mind blown. There we go. I like that. I love when that happens. Yes. Should police budgets be balloted on like school budgets? Generally speaking, no. As a general rule, no. I'm not. Look, if a local group wants to do it, but you're saying should. I don't want to make a law that says either way is the right answer. I'd rather have a local community decide. But if it was my local community, I wouldn't do that, right? And the problem is policing, as I mentioned in my idea of policing, which was reset the police, not defund the police. It was reset the police, which is my 4 areas: facts, FAQS, family law, active policing, quality of life, and then social working. When you have those 4 levels, each of them is a different piece, and your community has to decide what's most important in their community. And I would rather that be actually a community discussion that talks about budgeting in a community so that people can talk about what they care about most, what matters most. So that's why I'd rather have it that way. I would rather have policing as a community discussion than being balloted. I'd rather it be a talk, maybe a vote locally. I think it's just stronger. That's my view. But I wouldn't make that illegal or unauthorized if a local community wanted to do that. Okay. But my opinion is I wouldn't want that for my community. Hope that was clear. Yes. There we go. Resetting our sunsetting could work. We need to sunset Congress too. Not a bad idea. Not against it. Let's do it. Yes. Yes. Let's see. Legislation at the federal level is one of the largest problems in society. Hypercriminalization and displacement of legal principles by ethical and morality legislation, not just sunset. Need a malum in se versus in prohibito litmus test. Look at you, Dan, the lawyer in you just coming out. I agree that there are many things we have to fix. Let's start with sunset, because if we start with sunset, I think the other things start moving, right? And I'm going to put my coaching hat on. I know some of you can't stand to do that, but I put my coaching hat on. When it comes to coaching people and getting people to move, I always start with one thing. What's the first step? What gets you moving in that direction so that we can do things that are going to work best? If I bring up every single thing that has to be fixed, we'll never fix anything. It's too big. It's too huge. It's just too much. So let's do this one thing first and go, oh, we'll start there and other things are going to happen. For those of you who've done things in your own life to fix things and make things better, you often find out that when you start one thing, other things start happening, right? When you say, I'm going to go to college, and the first thing you do is sign up for a class. All of a sudden, you're also learning Spanish, or you're already helping your friends, or watching a documentary. That begins to happen as you change your mindset. So, yes, I agree with you, Dan. I'd like one step at a time. I think if we go too far, we wind up getting nothing. And I'd rather get us in the right order. So, yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. All right. Yes, it was flies. Yes, it was flies. Yeah, but bees are good too. I like them also. Absolutely. Can you help me understand why the Libertarian Party is completely against no-knock search warrants? Can you help me understand why? I feel the rules of them should be changed, but no-knock search warrants have value in the enforcement of our laws. The reason is because they're used for everything. That's the reason, because they're used for almost anything, Janice, right? If you have an environment right now to where, to be forward, part of my fixing of resetting the police didn't talk about no-knock warrants. That wasn't on it. Because the reason why no-knock warrants are bad is because of our culture of so many police believing they're in a war zone, believing that everybody out there is ready to hurt them and kill them, being trained like that, being trained like they're an occupying force. When you have that kind of us versus them mentality, no-knock warrants aren't going to work. They're just not. And you can see it. You're going to have lots of people getting hurt, lots of people being killed, lots of mistakes being made. If you were to completely reset the police, as I said, I wouldn't be so concerned about it. But with our current way of doing things, the damage being done is so much worse. That's the reason. It's just so much work. Would they have value in a very limited scope? Sure, of course they would. But what are they used for mostly? Trying to catch people having drugs. You have to get in fast with a flush of drugs. End the drug war. Why does it matter if someone has drugs, right? If you want to get someone who has something bad, like they got a bomb in their house or something, they're not going to flush the bomb. The bomb's going to be there. I can have a knock on before they're not going to rush out the back door, surround the house then. It's fine. No-knock warrants are basically used to get contraband. That's why you do it usually. Also, there could be some fear of being ambushed and such. But cops being ambushed, that doesn't really happen. It does here or there. I shouldn't say it doesn't really happen, but hardly ever. I mean, I use New York as an example, right? New York City, largest city in the country, 8.5 million people in the city, 40,000 law enforcement officers, 40,000 in our city. The last time a cop was killed by some assailant was 3 years ago. Haven't had a cop killed by an assailant in 3 years. Now, cops have killed other cops because we shoot at everything in New York State. We can't stop but shooting people, and we shoot each other. So the cops literally shoot each other. And here's the worst part. When the cops shoot each other, Janice, they don't change training. They charge the person who they were going after with murder. I'm not joking. So the cops come in, it's a true story, found a guy who had a fake gun in a store. He was robbing a store with a fake gun. And he was literally, this is true, he had mental issues and he was saying bang, bang. He was saying it, bang, bang, with a fake gun. Cops drew down, 4 of them, fired like 17 rounds, killed another cop, didn't hit him. That's New York City. You think they would then change the rules, right? Oh my God, horrible rules. No, they blame that, they charged that guy with murder because the cop wouldn't have got killed except he was there. That was their answer. So no-knock warrants don't work. They're not required in today's world. You change the environment, maybe you bring them back for certain specific issues, but cops have a very tough job. I'm not anti-law enforcement at all. My father was in law enforcement. I get it. I have friends. Cops have a very hard job. They deal with a homeless guy who might stab them, to a domestic dispute where they're dealing with moms and dads and kids, to a horrible place where they're trying to figure out whether somebody got raped or not. It's hard. They deal with everything. To trying to get a dog from the street. It's a tough job. Insanely hard job. But not that deadly. It isn't that deadly of a job. It is a very challenging job. Not that deadly. So I guess that's why, Janice. Good. All right. How would you propose we handle the looming $30 trillion debt mark on the federal level? Several ways we could do it, right? Several ways. The first one is default, because if we don't do something, that's the answer. Default is the answer if we don't do something, right? Just this, we have to do something. I think the actual answer is actually cutting government back, finding ways of raising money other than taxation, getting our deficit to zero, real zero, and turning back the clock on this and going down on our deficit till we have a surplus, and then start paying it off over a period of time. I would also consider negotiating away some of our debt with our foreign creditors, negotiating away some of the debt through other ways, just negotiating away, because we can't pay it. It's almost impossible. It'll take us 30 years if we could even do that, maybe more. So I think that's how you deal with it. Cutting back slowly first. That's probably a 3 to 4 year plan to get us to where we're actually cutting back our government enough and shutting everything down, shutting down a bunch of the military industrial complex, whatever. Remember, whenever you remove government, though, you have to add commerce, because at its core, government is 2 things: a monopoly, number 1, and number 2, a massive jobs program. So you have to make sure you can find places for those people that you're going to displace as you begin to decrease government, right? You have to find places for these people. And I know hardcore libertarians go, the market will absorb them. That's a bunch of horseshit, because the market is global. So while the money leaves America, it may wind up popping up someplace else, like China, Vietnam. That doesn't help American citizens to have jobs. And I don't want 10 million people on the streets to have jobs. We have that now. We don't need that. Bad idea. So we have to find a way to make that work within our own country, within our own borders. We can do that, but it's a plan. And that's the plan. We have to end the Fed. Got to do it. Also not easy. That's got to be a plan. You can't just go, Fed gone. Who makes money? What legal tender does the government accept? What legal tender does the government accept internally? Whatever those issues are, These are all things we can handle, Matt. They're not in any way, shape, or form insurmountable. But we have to have a plan, right? Is that a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan? And Americans like spending dollars. That's who we are. We like credit cards and dollars. So can we change that? Sure, maybe. But there has to be a plan on how we do that. That's probably 3 years just in doing that, right? And then do we go back on a gold standard? Do we use some form of cryptocurrency as a way of internally paying bills that doesn't add to our $1 trillion debt, right? Do we do something like that? These are all plans that could work, but we've got to work on those things. It's making government smaller, realizing it's a monopoly and a jobs program. So adding commerce to make up for the shrinking government, bringing back our military industrial complex. That's they're wrapped together, right? Helping us do that. Getting our deficit to where it's no longer a deficit, it's now a surplus. Then having a plan to pay all this off. On top of that, ending the Fed and figuring out how we transition out of the Fed, which is also not an easy thing. And then negotiating our debt for all our foreign creditors. I hope that was an answer for you, but that's at least a 10-year plan. At least, maybe longer, but I would guess a 10-year plan. All right. Let's see here. Going back south, Zach, don't leave me. I guess he is. Yes. With a new coin, maybe. Yes. Thank you very much. Good. Let's see. See if I can get another one. Mayor of Syracuse, independent. Yes, that's right. Because family name. Thank you. Independent. You can do independent, but it's hard. Absolutely. It's not easy. You can do it. It's just very difficult. That's the problem. Yes. So winning as governor could carry into bringing libertarian line into. That's true. Yeah. So look, hey, Dan, when I run, I'm going to be calling you. Just saying. So, all right. Larry, is a national party set up for the day when we get the right percentage to gain taxpayer funds? And would those funds trickle down to the states? As a general rule, when we get the funds go to the candidate, and the candidate has to decide that, right? So is the national party set up? No, I don't think so right now. I don't think they're prepared for that. And there are several reasons why. There is a group of people within the party who think the idea of getting taxpayer money is a bad thing and unlibertarian. So some candidates wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take it at all. They would not take it. So it depends upon the candidates. So that's why the party is not ready for that. But I think if we get the percentage, if you want to take the money, take it. Why wouldn't you? If you want to take it, take it. It's like saying, I'm not going to use the roads because I don't believe in them. You pay taxes for them. You should use the roads. Why wouldn't you? I'm not going to take unemployment insurance. Why not? You paid for it. Take it. It's because you don't like it. So what? I get it. So I'm not going to take it, of course. I'm going to give back my Trump bucks. Why? You're paying the debt on the money they just magically put in the Fed. You're paying for it. You might as well take it. So that's my view, but others would disagree, Monica. So I think that's the issue. Running doesn't suck. Maybe it's just me. Well, here's what I'll say. Running's tough, and it can suck. How about that? Maybe that's it. Yes. Sex in the City, Cynthia Nixon. Yes. Yes, indeed. I went up against her. That was not easy. She is very, very popular. Yes. And has money. Upset libertarians love Larry Sharpe. Thank you. I love that. What is your stance on nicotine vaping? Why would I care either way? If you want to vape, vape. If you want to smoke, smoke. I don't vape. I don't smoke, but that's my choice. And if you want to, as long as you are, look, the law is 21. I think it should be 18, but 21, fine. The law, I think it should be 18. You're an adult. If you can go off and get your legs blown off in Afghanistan in an IED, then you can smoke or vape, right? If you can get blasted around and get traumatic brain injury in Iraq and have PTSD for the rest of your life, you can nicotine vape if you want to. Done. I don't know why that's an issue. If you want to, you can. I do believe I'm happy with the warnings on the labels for nicotine. I have no problem with the warnings. Let people know you're doing something that could harm you. Okay. And then as an adult, make that decision. As long as there's transparency, I have no problem with vaping in general, no problem with vaping nicotine or flavors or whatever you want to do. If you're an adult and it's transparent, That's on you. Again, I don't vape. I don't smoke. Not my thing. But I don't get to decide what makes you happy. Only you do. And if you don't think it makes you happy, don't do it. If you think it does, good on you. That's my view. Yes. All right. Let's see. Central New York, loves you. Thank you. I love Central New York also. Absolutely. Would you support a split of upstate New York City? It's a tough question. It's almost like saying, would you support if a leprechaun rode a unicorn? It's not going to happen. But would I support it? If that was a real thing, sure, why wouldn't I, right? If people want to have separate governments, why wouldn't I support that? It's just not a thing. It's not going to happen, which is why my answer has always been the same thing, which is localization. Most of the time, people are upset and want to split because they believe either Albany and or New York City runs the entire state. That's often true. So how about we stop that? How about we don't have it to where Albany and or New York City runs the entire state, and then you won't care? I'd rather that happen. I'd rather us be able to keep our state intact and just be more of a localized home rule state, to where you're like, oh, city people do that, good for them. I'm not in New York City. I'll do what I want. Life is good. And when I want to, I'll go visit them. That's what I'd rather have happen. So yes. All right. Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima are getting a divorce. Ben was seeing Mrs. Butterworth on the side. You know, sometimes divorce is the right answer. That's all. Yes. All right. Third-party voters always get blamed when close to 40% of registered voters don't even bother to vote. Yes. Yes. Somehow it's our fault that 40% of voters didn't vote. Oh, my God. Yes. Do you support full drug legalization? Yes and no. Both. And let me explain why. The legalization aspect versus decriminalization aspect. In my perfect world, certain drugs would just be legal and other drugs would be decriminalized, right? Because some of the drugs, you need to have some form of warning or explanation on them so that people can use them intelligently. So some drugs I'd rather have legalized, some I'd rather have decriminalized. Cannabis should be decriminalized. It doesn't have to be legalized at all. Most opioids should be legalized, not decriminalized. So there's a difference, I think, between the two. Now, I'm open to which ones are which because I'm not an expert in this field, but I do know there should be a difference. Also, some drugs should not be allowed to be given to children. And some doesn't matter. It's like a plant. It doesn't really matter. Whatever, teenagers could work. The ages could be different, right? Depends upon the drug and some things. Certain things should only be with a doctor if the kid is a minor. So that's why I'm not full drug decriminalization. But legalization, yes, and some drugs should be decriminalized. But I go back to what I was talking about with Dan. Right away, no way. The country is not ready for it. If you go that route, and people do all the time, they go, you got to end all drug, blah, blah, blah. That is a fantasy. You are living in a fantasy world if you believe that America's ready for that. I can't get New York State to legalize recreational weed. And you're telling me you're going to go full drug? That's a fantasy world. Not going to happen now. So first step, let's work in the right direction. First step is take cannabis off Schedule 1. Do that. Now we're rocking and rolling. In New York State, I said it. Let's regulate cannabis like onions. Now we're rocking and rolling, right? That's where you begin. You do that and watch it. And also, look, if you make cannabis products more available, it will change the entire landscape of drug use in America. It will shift drug use. The landscape will change. And the landscape changes. You can now decide what's the next step and what should be legalized versus decriminalized. And again, I don't know which one is which. I'm being very forward. I'm ignorant to all the details of the drugs, but I know there should be a difference between certain drugs, whether they're decriminalized or legalized. So I hope that was clear. Hold on. There needs to be, where am I going here? I'm new and learning more about the party's views. How will we end the drug war? And the issue for me is that these substances can be very dangerous. Are you saying we should be legal? That's what I just mentioned, right? Yes, this is what I meant, Janice. I'm sorry, I just answered that question from the other one, right? You start with cannabis off Schedule 1, see how it works, see what happens, how the landscape changes, and then decide how to make that work which drug should be legalized, which one should be decriminalized, right? That's how you decide. For those who don't know the difference, right? Decriminalize means just use it, right? Maybe you have an 18 or older or something like that rule on them, whatever the case may be. But there aren't many rules on it, right? Because it's basically a safe drug like cannabis. That can be decriminalized. But many, to Janice's point, if they're used incorrectly, literally can be dangerous. You can die. Those you might want to just legalize instead so that we know exactly what's in each piece and how it works. So you might want to do that. And I'm okay with either of those answers. That's all I'm concerned about, either one of those. Yes. All right. Larry Sharpe, if all upstate New Yorkers voted for one person and a Republican won, that will be a win. Would that be a win or lose because Cuomo is out? Voice here, Republicans less than two evils. Yes. So here's the issue. The Republicans in New York State are outgunned about 2.5 to 1. And after COVID, probably even worse, as more people are going to leave New York State. So it's going to be 2.5 or 3 to 1 Democrat Republican. For what you have, for Andrew, for what you just say happened, you'd have to have almost every Republican vote and only half Democrats vote to make a Republican win in New York State. New York State hasn't had a Republican win in a statewide election in almost 20 years. It's not getting red. While I get what you're saying, for that to happen, it would have to be a massive landslide of people just deciding I'm going to vote, all the Republicans voting, and less than half Democrats voting. Could that happen? Sure, it could. But oh my God, I mean, the odds are almost impossible. This is why a libertarian who will also get Democrats, the Republican has a much better chance of getting a higher vote total, but has zero chance of victory. The libertarian has a lower chance of getting a higher vote total, but actually has a higher chance of victory because it is physically possible for libertarian to get Democrat votes. So libertarian can win in New York State. Odds are low, but can win. A Republican cannot win. It's impossible. So you're asking, it's impossible. But here's the issue. What if a Republican did win? What if I'm wrong and every Republican in New York State votes and a third of Democrats vote and Republican wins the White House? I mean, the Albany in New York State. Great. He has an entire Democrat Congress, an entire Democrat, a House, and an entire Democrat Senate. What's he going to do? And now, next election, he loses. We're back in the same boat. We've made no real change. We have temporary victory and then no real change. All right. King Cuomo actually said it doesn't matter if vaping is harm reduction. I don't want you to do it. And he actually said he didn't care. Yes, that's correct. Cuomo doesn't care. Cuomo's like, I can punish people. I'm doing it. And he did. Absolutely. Yes. I'm bringing people together tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on Zoom to begin implementing Larry Sharpe's 3 changes for family court reform. Yes, I love that. Thank you, Robert. Yes, I totally, absolutely support family court reform. Yes, absolutely. Please, if you care about family court, hook up with Robert so that you can join that. Absolutely. Yes. So I think I did answer that question. Keep going here if I can. Thank you for the replies. Yes, of course. How would you handle the multiple oversight committees our current governor has set up? I would end almost all of them. Most of those committees the government sets up is to protect himself. And if you notice, for those of you who live in New York, you would know that without question, we are corrupt as can be, super corrupt. And what happens is the people next to Cuomo all go to jail, but he doesn't. Why? He puts a barrier between himself and others by creating committees. And he goes, I didn't decide. It was the committee who decided. I have plausible deniability, which is why he doesn't go to jail. He's as corrupt as all of them. Sorry, he's more corrupt than all of them, but he doesn't go to jail because he has this. You get rid of most of these committees. Most of them have to go, right? I want to bring it down to the local level. And here's the biggest thing I mentioned when I ran. I want to have an office of transparency. The office of transparency is the oversight for the state. The office of transparency makes sure that everybody sees what's going on. If we just punish the corrupt people, those people get punished and more corrupt people get behind them. If we have to arrest 6, 8, 10 people and put them in jail every couple of years, it's not the people. It's the system that draws these people into the system. Let's break the system and we have less corruption. I don't want to focus on punishing corrupt people. I want less corruption. So that's how you deal with it, Matt. Good. Do you think the Libertarian Party should focus on the bottom-up or top-down elections? Both. Both. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both. And you will hear me say it all the time. Top of the ticket gets the most press, right? So when a big top of the ticket's running, they get the most press. But they have to be able to shine that light on the people at the bottom of the ticket or in the middle of the ticket, right? People at the bottom of the ticket have the best chance of victory. But to get both, now we're rocking and rolling. What I hope you saw me do in New York State was, when I was running, it was all about me getting press. Larry Sharpe's the governor guy running, get press, get press, get press. That was a big deal for me. I had a press kit, a press reel before I even got nominated. Those of you who went to the actual convention, I brought the press reel to the convention to show them how much press I've already gotten and the money I raised before I even got the nomination. So it's a big deal. But the year after, I went around drawing the press in, doing press conferences to support the local people who are running so they could win. That's the goal. Now, if they all win in the next couple of years, there'll be local victories throughout New York State. So now when I run, they reverse it. And now they can support me, and then I can support them, and we go back and forth and back and forth. So I think it's both. We can't forget about either one of them. If I had to focus on one or the other, if I have to, like I only have X amount of dollars to give, I would always give a local first. That's my view. Some people disagree with me. My view is, if I'm personally struggling and I can't go to both, I would absolutely go local first. I got some extra cash or time, then I'd go top of the ticket. I'd always focus local if I'm strapped. If I'm not strapped, support both. Or divvy up my time and my money, right? If I've got $100 to give 50 to the top and 50 local. Right? If I got 3 hours to give 2 hours local, 1 hour top. So I would try to do both, if at all possible. Yes. Yes. Full legalization is just a general message that will work well politically because of police racism. I don't think so. I think full legalization scares people just like defund the police scares people. I know people get mad at me when I say that. Why are you scared people? Because people who are afraid make bad decisions. Why do you think we got Patriot Act? Because we were thinking straight? No, because we were scared. Why did we get bailout after bailout after bailout? Because we're scared. Why did we not fight the government locking us away in our homes for 3 months? Because we were scared. So for those of you people go, why are you always worried about people being scared? Because bad things happen when people are scared. So we get gun control laws. Because people are scared. Why we get SAFE Act in New York State? Because people were scared. They called it the SAFE Act to make you safe. And people bought that garbage. So I get what you're saying, that it sounds like a good general message. If people start getting afraid, bad things happen. We see it again and again and again. Bad things happen. I don't want bad things to happen. I want good change, not I'm scared Patriot Act comes. So, yes. All right. How many federal laws regulate onions? You know, this is funny you brought this up, Dave. People got me on this one. This is funny you bring this up. When I said regulate like onions, I literally pulled it out of the air. I happened to be in Western New York when that came up. And as you guys who were watching, I did all of my stuff live, off the cuff on Facebook. I just did it all live. And I wanted to regulate it. And I was thinking, like a plant is what I was thinking. And for those of you who don't know, Western New York, one of the things we grow in Western New York is onions. That's one of the things we grow. So I knew that. So I went, onions. Then someone told me later, they actually regulate onions. So it wasn't the perfect piece. But it stuck, so I kept it. I actually just want to regulate it like whatever. Tomatoes, carrots, a plant. That's what I cared about. Onions stuck, so I got onions. I actually don't know about the federal regulations on onions. But it stuck, so I kept it. All good. So it's better than nothing else. So I'll take that. Yes. How do you decide what age a person becomes an adult for consent purposes? I think you let states figure that out. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you let states figure it out. Some states say 16, some say 17, some say 8. New York, I think, says 17. New York is 17. Every state surrounding it is 16. New York, the progressive state, is the highest age of consent. Let states decide. It's not that big of a deal. As long as states can decide, I think it's fine. I'm not that concerned. States have been pretty good. They haven't been going 12, 13. That hasn't happened. So I think it's fine. If the federal government wanted to make a rule, I'm not sure I'd be okay with it unless it was something like, not under 16 or something. Maybe. But I think states are fine. They're doing a fine job with it. Not that concerned. Yes. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Joe Jorgensen? I will vote for her. Is that good? I'm voting Joe. I hope you will. Let's see. Republicans aren't the lesser of two evils anymore. Can you really say they are the party of a small government or fiscal responsibility? Republicans seem to be sliding into a stint with authoritarianism. I'd agree. I think, rhetoric is very different, right? When it comes to rhetoric, meaning just what they say versus what they do, the Democrats have very nice rhetoric on helping people. They sound nice. If you don't pay attention, it sounds great. When you actually watch them govern, not so great. Republicans have much better rhetoric when it comes to small government responsibility. Good rhetoric. I agree. It's better rhetoric. When you watch them govern, not so much. I agree. Good. All right. Would you support a modern way to vote in New York? Unknown, because modern, I'm not sure. Maybe. My worry always is the more centralized control technology you have, the more chance you have of it being of being cheated, right? And voting is just too damn important to go, well, we'll trust Facebook with it or something, right? So modern, yes, with a whole lot of caveats. A lot of caveats. So maybe, but a lot of caveats. Let's see. I'm late to the party. Has ranked choice voting been brought up yet? No. And I am a big fan of ranked choice voting. It is not perfect. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. And there are other ways of doing it too. However, it's when it compared to what we have now, I'm in. New York City already has it now, if I'm not mistaken, for primaries. So we can do it in New York City for primaries. I'm happy if we bring it to the entire state. There are problems with it. It is not perfect, but it is way better than what we have now. I will absolutely take it. Yes. I want Cuomo out. I voted for you, Larry, but not enough smart people like me did. Look at the damn mess we're in now because of Cuomo. I agree. But here's the reality, Valerie. Here's the reality. Right now, it is going to be me or Cuomo. No Republican has any chance of beating Cuomo. Zero. Mine are tough. I don't get me wrong. I'm not fooling myself. I don't think, I'm going to walk in and win. I don't believe that at all. But I have a chance. No Republican in New York State has any chance. And anyone who tells you that is either delusional or lying to you. Zero chance. Republicans are outgunned 2.5 to 1 in this state, and it's probably going to get worse after people leave after COVID and the disaster economically New York State is going to be in after next year. So there is zero chance of Republican winning, beating Cuomo. And Cuomo runs the Democratic Party with an iron fist. The woman, the actor, the popular actor from Sex and the City got slaughtered by him. No Democrat has any chance of beating Cuomo. So it's either Sharpe or Cuomo. There is no other chance. I get you. So you can vote for me if you want to. I hope you do. Or you can surrender. I hope you don't. I hope you don't. You're one of the sharpest libertarian candidates. Thank you. I specifically follow the Federal Reserve. Yes, the Federal Reserve is a disaster and has to go. But I'll tell you the story that I tell often. I don't know if you heard this, but it's a story I tell often. I was doing a class with a New York City agency and teaching them leadership. And during the class, I never talk about politics unless it's during a break and someone brings it up. And that happened. It was during a break and people are talking. And one of them says to me, this is probably 2014, 15 in that area, maybe 16 in that area. And someone says, I'm so glad we have the Fed. Oh my God, without the Fed, they saved us during the crash. The guy says this. About 20 people in the room that are all credentialed, licensed, educated professionals. Everyone in the room is that. right? Youngest is probably 30. Oldest is probably 60. So give you an area. Men and women, more men than women, but that's the room. And I said, they looked at me because they know I was in politics. They looked at me when the guy said it. And I said, do you guys know that the Fed is not really part of the government? That it's actually basically a private bank, kind of like a banking cartel? They went, no, it isn't. Every one of them, no, it isn't. I said, Google it. Put it in your phone. Check it out. And they did. They Googled it. They're like, oh my God, yeah, it is. They didn't know. Not one of them in the room, man. Not one in the room knew. Let's think about that. Then when I said, the Fed just kind of makes money and just gives the government, just makes money. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Look it up. Oh my God, he's right. So why do I tell you this story? Not because we shouldn't end the Fed, but because we have a lot of work to do. Most Americans don't think the Fed's a bad thing. Most Americans don't even know what it does. You ask the average American, do we need a central bank? And they'll go, what's a central bank? Don't know what it is. And then if someone knows what it is, they'll say, of course not. We don't need a central bank. We don't have a central bank. We have the Fed. Ask the average American. You will see answers like that. We have a lot of work to do, which is why I talk about first auditing the Fed to get people to look into it, to go, oh, wait a minute. We can't just audit it. Wait a minute. It is private. Wait a minute. This is happening. Now the press gets involved. Now we see it. Now when I talk about it, they go, oh, Larry, that's what you were talking about. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Let's now plan to get rid of it. And let's have an actual plan to get rid of that, which I think could probably include some form of cryptocurrency as a way of dealing with that issue plus our debt. That's my assumption. I can't be 100% sure on that. I hope that was clear. Good. All right. Panicked authoritarians do what panicked authoritarians. Tim, home run. Correct. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. 100%. Yes. All right. What do you think about antitrust laws? Do you think a company can become so big actually becomes an anti-capitalist force? Example, Amazon and diapers.com. Yeah, I think it's possible, right? I do think it's possible, right? It could happen. And I think it often does. The problem is the government does not handle it right now. How could the government, say, break up Facebook? I mean, how could they do it? I'm not sure they could. But could there be a way of doing it? Sure. And I think the best way of breaking up monopolies is by going out of your way, right? Government shouldn't have to forcibly break up monopolies. That might be the case if a monopoly became so strong, it became entrenched in the government, it became basically a government arm. It could happen. But I think the best way of actually breaking monopolies is similar to the post office. You create an environment that allows the new people to pop up. Right now, the opposite happens, Brendan. The opposite happens. Once Facebook now becomes the monopoly, it goes, yes, we want regulation. Oh, my God, of course. Oh, we care about you, government. Let's have regulation. Why? That regulation is a barrier for anyone else to enter. So they eagerly say, give me regulation, please. Let's make it tough, for safety. They say that. It's not for safety. It's to ensure no one can come and become a competitor, right? So I think the best thing government can do is when you find that is monopolistic or maybe even an oligarchy, in any case, whatever it is, a cartel, you create an environment that helps the little guy pop up faster. So you basically incentivize their competition, which seems unfair. Yeah, but if you have a monopoly with regulation, that's also unfair. That's my view. Some people think I'm wrong. Let monopolies exist. I disagree, because what's happening, while an economist would say, but then the other guy comes up and breaks the monopoly. That's an economist who doesn't live in the real world. That's why most economists are almost always wrong, because they live in a book. In reality, what actually happens is government gets in bed with the monopoly and then sponsors the monopoly and supports the monopoly and oppresses everyone else. That's what actually happens. I hope that answers your question at least. All right. Let's see if I can grab a couple more. Recommendations I'd like you to consider if you have time. Is there an email I can send to you? Yeah, just send anything to the Facebook page. People will absolutely jump on board. One of my team always monitors that stuff. So please go ahead. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Absolutely. All right. Been finding lots of brand new Crips 20s in the ATM. So they are printing so much more money. One George Floyd would say. Very funny, Greg. Yes. Yes, they are absolutely printing out tons of money. They are, because that's the only answer they have, is to print more money, right? That's the answer. Yes. Did you catch the LPTV Salutes Juneteenth episode? Possible guest for LDCL. I guess I could. I didn't. I missed it. The Juneteenth episode was actually the day before Juneteenth. I was supposed to be on it because I thought it was going to be on Juneteenth. So I scheduled something already. So I did another show that day and my own Juneteenth episode on actually Juneteenth. So I apologize. Maybe I'll check it out. Thank you, Jason. I'll check it out. Yes. How would you have handled the COVID-19 outbreak? I think no. I actually wouldn't have had regulations. The opposite. I actually gave a detailed list on how I would have dealt with the COVID very differently. And by the way, I had this plan, I'm not joking, 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I had a plan to fix this. Every aspect of it, even the funding of it, everything. Libertarian as can be. It is actually one of my March shows. I think it was like March 11th. If you have a chance to head back on the Sharpe Way YouTube page, head to the YouTube page, the Sharpe Way. Look around March 11th or so in that area. I have a show literally on how to deal with COVID. It's right there. It gives you all details, start to finish. So yes, already had one. Thank you. With COVID, do we have a chance to bring down big public schools and go to small private schools? Yes, we do. Yes, I'm telling you, people do not. A lot of people don't want to go back. My kids don't want to go back to school. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to send them. I don't want to send them. My kids were far unhappier in school than they are out of school. They don't learn anything in school. I know that because when I was now teaching my daughters how to do things, it was rote garbage that I guess the school said it was good. They weren't learning much. So yes, now it is the time and to talk about what the next steps are. 100% yes is our time. We should be talking about that again and again. Thank you for bringing it up. We should talk about that more. 100%. Yes. All right. See if I can find this one. Proud Patreon supporter here. Thank you. Help this candidate go without a salary for 18 months. Thank you, guys. If you want to help me out, please head on over there. If you would, I love it. Please help me out. You can go over to patreon.com/sharpeway and throw me a couple bucks. $9, $100, $50, $20. If you're filthy rich and you got tons of money, throw me $100 a month. $500 a month if you're filthy rich. If you're not that wealthy, whatever you do. And if you can't, always remember, no matter what, like, comment, share. That's always important, no matter what. So keep that piece in mind. No matter what, that is important. All right, let me keep going if I can. All right. Hold on. You need a sibling to lead anchor on CNN. Yeah, I know. It's okay. I'll get Tim. Tim's good in front of people. I'll get Tim to be my CNN anchor, and I'll talk to him back and forth. Unless Tim's already, if he wins, he's already in the Senate, then maybe he won't. But unless he does, that's just different. So yes. All right. Let me keep going if I could. Hold on. I'm gonna grab a couple more. There we go. People in private companies get audited all the time. Why can't we audit the Fed? The reason why we can't just audit the Fed, David, is you can't just decide. You can, but you shouldn't just decide to audit a private company. It is supposed to be either random or red flagged. So you'd have to have a reason to do that. If you just decided, I'm going to audit this guy, that could be seen as arbitrary or even punitive. So there has to be a reason is all I'm saying. And if you're a government organization, no, you're the government. We can audit you because I'm the government president and I'm going to audit something. I can, absolutely. I'm assuming it's in my purview, obviously. I can just audit it. Of course I could. But if you're a private company, the president can't just decide, audit you, David. That doesn't work. That's why we can't just audit the Fed. So once someone decides to audit the Fed, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Can we? Can we? And that's all I want to happen is just that people say, can we? Is that how does that work? And people begin to understand this isn't what we thought it was. And that's what I want. Yes. You said even Republican won, all the rest of the government is Democrat. Wouldn't it be the same libertarians? No. And let me tell you why, Andrew. It's a great question. 2 reasons why that's not true. Number 1, libertarians will often, as we talked earlier, lean on one side or the other, depending upon what's being talked about, right? It's the Second Amendment. We're almost always on the Republican side, right? So done, good to go. It's helping people deal with their own issues, gay and lesbian issues, as an example, cannabis issues. We're on the Democrat side. So we can go to either side. But more importantly, if we look at, say, the Assembly or the Senate, can you imagine if we won the governorship, and when I did that the same year or even a year or two before, we had a bunch of people win locally. Say we have 10 people in the Assembly who are Libertarians, 5 who are in the Senate who are Libertarians. Those 5 or 10 Libertarians who are in the State House, they're a swing vote. You don't have to run as a Libertarian, your third party. You don't have to have the majority. Maybe 6 to 10% of the Assembly or the Senate, and you're the swing vote, and you decide where the bills go here or there. So you'd actually have power as Libertarian governor and a few people, right, in the Senate or in the Assembly. That's why. That's the reason. Thanks a bunch for all the replies, Mr. Sharpe. I voted for you in the last election, even had the privilege of meeting you at Angry Oven Pizzeria. Yes, absolutely, yes. Unfortunately, the county tore down our Veteran Service Center. It sucks. To build a new county building annex and moved our Veteran Service Center outside the village and outside of walking distance from most of us veterans. Would you help to ensure our local government ensure our Veteran Services Center be with, hold on, I think you've probably wrote the rest somewhere. I didn't see where you wrote it, but I'm assuming you mean, of course, I am going to assist veterans. I speak about it often. It matters. Absolutely. Yes. You know I would do that. 100%. Yes. All right. We asked about plans to run for governor. I mentioned that already. Yes, I would consider it. Absolutely. No worries. I would consider that. Yes. Or those companies just buy their competitors. Great answer to my question. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. But what the example I give is the example of the post office. And in the case of the post office, you find that what often happens is they also might start helping each other out, right? One of the largest competitors and the biggest clients of the post office, believe it or not, is FedEx. What winds up happening often in these cases is they begin to specialize. And what I mean by that is, for example, FedEx doesn't want to go to Barrow, Alaska, right? But the post office has to and already has a way of doing it. And they already have a route and they have a guy or gal who flies there. And they already have that. It's in place. So when you send FedEx a package to Barrow, Alaska, FedEx doesn't take it there. FedEx pays the post office to get there. That's how that works. So they actually wind up helping each other and specializing, right? The post office has basically become a very effective. The post office has become a very effective bulk mailer, which FedEx is not good at. Neither is DHL or UPS. But the post office is good at that. So the post office has wind up specializing in bulk mail and Barrow, Alaska, and stuff like that. And I think that's what often happens. So I want to look towards that style of making things work. But again, it will be case by case. That's what I would be worried about. But yes, I do think monopolies can happen, and you have to do something to break them up, because naturally they will become regulated into a place where they never leave, and they'll get in bed with government. That's what happens. Yes. All right. Can you declare yourself an economist? I'm an economist. Done. Yes, absolutely. So yes, Patreon Sharpe Way. Thank you so much. 100%. Can you go into the NAP for New Libertarians? Non-aggression principle when it comes to passing ideology through a state. Yes, the non-aggression principle is for many libertarians, not all, but for many libertarians, it is the center of who we are. Some people think self-ownership is. Some people think property rights is. Depends on the libertarian you're talking to. But most libertarians, the larger percentage, fall back to the non-aggression principle, which is you may never initiate force unless someone has somehow trying to take you, hurt you, or harm you. You may never initiate force. You may use force in self-defense or to save your property or something, but you may never just do it. You must never just attack outward. So that includes government. Government is also force. Many Americans, not libertarians, many Americans who are non-libertarian believe that if you vote on it, somehow it's not force. The libertarians are laughing. I'm telling you the truth. It's how many Americans feel. I would argue most Americans believe that. It's not force. We voted on it. It's not force. It's a law. It's not force. It's the rules. So the average American believes that it's not force because it's voted on. It's still force. It's just outsourced force based upon the majority, still force. So I think that is what the non-aggression principle is. And the goal is, in the libertarian world, for those who fall back to the non-aggression principle. And again, I believe that's the majority, not all, but the majority of libertarians believe the non-aggression is a central aspect of libertarianism. I am one of them. I believe that that is the center, right, is the non-aggression principle. I do fall into that category myself. So it means you don't ever want to initiate force. So government should not be initiating force, ever. It should only be using force in defense of others, in defense of someone's rights, in defense of someone's property, in defense of someone's, physical harm. That's when you're able to use force, whether it's yourself or someone else. And an idea I brought up, I was sitting with my friend on the porch talking about libertarian ideals. And where I live in Queens, my neighbor is literally touching my home. I live in like a row house type thing, right? So I said, that guy in the window, if you saw that guy, he was, I don't know, maybe snorting cocaine. You saw him snort cocaine. Do you think, and I don't mean legally, I mean morally, do you think it's okay for you personally, to kick his door in, grab the cocaine, pull it away from him, use physical force, hold him down, and keep him in the cage until the cops come? Do you think that's morally, not legally, is that okay? Do you think He's like, no. I said, why not? Well, why would I do that? Why would cops do that? Cops are just you. Why is it okay for cops to do that? He didn't have an answer. That's non-aggression principle. If it's not morally, not legally, if it's not morally okay for you to kick someone's door in, grab the cocaine, punch them in the head, shoot them if they don't do what you tell them, put them on the ground and put them in a cage, if that's not okay for you to do, then why should a cop do it? Now the reverse, if you looked in someone's window and there was a kid about to be getting stabbed by somebody, so the knife in the air is going to stab the kid, would it morally, not legally, morally be okay for you to kick in the door, grab the knife from the guy, punch him in the face, drop him to save the kid? I think morally we'd all say yes, of course. That's what cops should be doing. Cops are just an extension of us. The government is an extension of us. The non-aggressive principle means if it's morally okay for me to use force, then it is morally okay for the government to use force. That's basically what it is. I hope that was a good explanation for you. Thank you. All right. Let's see here if I can grab a couple more. It's a deal, Larry Sharpe. I promise transparency. All right, so you're going to be out there. New show. It's O'Connor Live, CNN, 8 p.m. Don't forget it. Absolutely, yes. All right. Would you vote for a young high school dropout libertarian? Sure. Why wouldn't I? Lots of people are dropouts, high school, college, all the time. Why wouldn't you? Lots of people are. Yeah. It would depend upon who you are. That's really the issue. Of course. Thank you for the analogy. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Yana. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope that answers your question. Guys, I want to bring up the dropout piece real fast. School is important for some and not for others. College is important for some and not for others. I don't judge you because school was important to you or wasn't important to you. I don't judge you because you thought you should or shouldn't go to college or high school. That's what I'm judging you on, right? I'm going to judge you on who you are as a person. And if you're running for office, what are you going to do to help us move our happiness level forward, right? Government should be about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That's the answer. That's what I want you to do. That's what matters. If you're doing that, I'm good. That's all I care about. So guys, I want to make sure, do me a favor. If you haven't already, head over to Sharpe Way Twitter and follow me. Head over to Sharpe Way Facebook and like it. Head on over to the YouTube page. Hit subscribe. It matters. The more we have, the more people see, the more this matters. And as always, if you've got some extra cash, patreon.com/SharpeWay, right? Make sure that I can keep doing this and giving you what I hope is both entertainment and inspiration. And I hope I'm helping us move the libertarian message forward and also give me some interesting stuff. I've had some interesting guests on. I hope they were entertaining and interesting for you. I really appreciate it. I hope that will work. Guys, I want to say thank you for tonight. I appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow right here again on the Sharpe Way. Thanks.